Welcome back to the YouTube universe and the Fit Senior. Today's video is chapter 3, and we are talking about food. We're finally getting to this one. I hope you enjoy this. This is a really important part to the whole program, is what we eat and what we don't eat. So let me get right to it so I can give you this information. All right. We're going to look at which foods to eat, which foods to avoid, and I am going to put a link in the description down below, several links for the research about what foods to eat and what not to eat. I am going to be giving you a very lay description here, not medical terms and not biological terms or nutritional terms. I'm going to stay very, very basic in this. But I want you to have available at your fingertips the links that you can research this. Because some of the things that I'm going to say are going to be controversial. And I want to make sure that you can trace back my sources where I got the information from, and there are many. Trust me, when you go online, you start looking for this, you're going to find all kinds of stuff, all kinds of interesting information. But let me just go ahead and do my part, which is what foods we're going to eat and what foods we're not going to eat. And I'm basically talking about what has been my experiences and what I find out works for me, and hopefully it works for you. I guess everybody is going to be a little bit different on this. I first went on a complete carnivore diet to start with. Carnivore diet is just all meat and things along that line, animal products. And I noticed within just a few days, I started to see some changes. I started this in early January, a year ago. It's now middle of January, but in early January a year ago. And for my whole life, as far as I can remember, I have had terrible, debilitating almost allergies that would start right at the beginning of January of each year and go through January and February and then sort of start to abate in March. And I was miserable. I used to take chlorotrimotron or something like that years ago, and it would make me so sleepy I couldn't function. And then more recently I discovered I could take some Claritin, and that was a lot more gentle. It didn't dry me out so much like the Claritin did, or like the old allergy tablets did. And it worked to some degree, but I could function at least. But last year I had started the carnivore diet, and I hadn't taken any Claritin yet. And I think that I took maybe 2 tablets during the next 3 months, and that was it. And my allergies almost completely went away. And that's kind of funny, because I figured it was something to do with oak leaves or pine leaves. And you know, when I get allergy, we would get this yellow dust all over Central and South Florida that came from the pine trees, and that's when I was just sneezing my head off and couldn't even see. I was crying so badly. But change in diet almost completely did away with the allergies, and we're in January now, the middle of January, and I've had, like, my nose is a little bit damp, and that's about it. So I really do believe that the carnivore diet, from my experience, seems to have been a tremendous change in my allergic reactions. also, been feeling really good. I haven't been sick for the past year at all. I'm kind of impervious to getting sick anymore. I used to get sick a lot when I was teaching, so you get exposed to a lot of germs. But now, sickness seems to be, having colds or flu or COVID or stuff like that. I never had any of that stuff. It didn't bother me. So that's something else to think about here for part of my experiences that I wanted to share about it. Let me keep going here. I came up with, before I do that. So I started with carnivore, and there definitely are drawbacks to the carnivore diet. At first it tastes really good, but after a while it gets kind of bland tasting. Ribeyes, still pretty good, and stuff that you can do to it. But I started to drift little by little into keto diet. Basically staying on carnivore, but mixing in some limited amounts of carbohydrates, just small amounts, and just enough to make it, make meals interesting. And so I now have kind of a composite keto and carnivore diet, and that's what I can tell you about, because it's stuff that's really good, stuff that's kind of good, stuff that's neutral, doesn't do anything, good or bad, and then there's stuff that's bad, and then even stuff that's worse. But let me go over these basic classifications for food. Good, red meat, first of all. Right below that, fish, especially fatty fish. Right below that, pork and poultry, chicken and turkey. And right below that, kind of on the dairy, on the cusp of good to neutral, and that's full-fat dairy. Cheese, eggs are especially good. Milk, I don't really need. Adults really shouldn't be drinking milk. Everything that I have covered. Like I had a little bit of sour cream today, and sometimes I have some cottage cheese, but and as much fat in it as possible. All right, and then in the neutral category, I have veggies. Now, some people get real mad at me for saying these things, but I'm just reporting what works for me, and check what the research says. I'll put it out there. Veggies are in neutral. They have some good properties, but generally they don't have much food value, much nutritional value. You get a few things from veggies, but you can get more from meat. And then on the cusp here, between neutral and bad, I have fruits. Oh, and I know I really insulted some sugar addicts there. So fruit, yeah, I love fruit, but you know what? It's mostly sugar, and it'll have a little bit of fiber in it, so a little bit of this or a little bit of that, but not really much to make it worthwhile. Dr. Lustig, one of the researchers that you'll see here, he said that man was meant to eat fruit for the 2 weeks out of the year that fruit was ripe. And the rest of the year you shouldn't eat it. So you have this fruit here, and then this fruit gets ripe, and then this fruit gets ripe, and you can eat those for, a week or two out of the year. But other than that, this business of year-round fruit, because we get fruits grown in all different seasons in all different parts of the world, and then flown into us, so we never have to miss our fruit. That's really not a good thing. Okay, but now let me go into the bad, and then I'll do the ugly. The bad is, of course, sugar and carbohydrates, grains, potatoes. Now, I eat occasionally a sweet potato with sour cream and butter on it that I heat up in the microwave. And you get some sugar in that way too. There are a few things that are decent with sweet potatoes, so occasionally I have one. And then to the ugly, which is even worse than bad, there is where we put in soy, vegetable oils, seed oils especially. But then again, on the far other end, from good to best, I put in extra virgin olive oil. One of the most important things that you can find and you can eat is extra virgin olive oil. So that's a very important part of your diet. And one that, what I started doing is I started saying, hey, you know what, I can kind of balance out something. And I would get one of these loaves of Italian bread that has a bunch of seeds on it, dusty looking stuff, and I would cut it up into slices and get a slice or two, put it on a saucer and put it in the microwave zap it for 20 to 30 seconds to warm it up because it's out of the refrigerator. And then I would get a little bowl with extra virgin olive oil in it, and I'd dip the bread in the olive oil and eat that. And that is pretty delicious, and it's not so bad for you. Some of the grains are okay in very slight moderation. You have a little bit of pasta or a little bit of bread, and some of this stuff. Well, I'll let you research more of that on what to eat. But olive oil is highly recommended and really good, especially if you're on a carnivore diet. And it'll help balance out your cholesterol levels. So that's helpful. Watch out for that. We'll see olive oil come up again in the discussion. So those are from the best to the worst and back again. So I'm going to talk about what I have been having for meals. And they started out like a dinner. I would have hamburger and some sliced roast beef. Now, one thing that becomes absolutely necessary if you're going to eat anything close to a carnivore diet is you can't use ketchup. Ketchup is just red sugar. But what I discovered early on, and it really allowed me to stick to the diet, was that there is now on the market some almost sugar-free barbecue sauces, and they come in different flavors, and they are not like fantastic, and they do have just a tiny amount of sugar in them. They admit in the label, even though they call it sugar-free, it just has just a little bit of sugar in it. So your body can tolerate a little bit of sugar, and this makes it possible to eat these meals, and it helps break down the meat too, because meat can get really chewy and chewy and chewy and chewy unless you have something to catalyze it. So sugar-free barbecue sauce, look on the shelves and you will find it. I was going to hold up the bottle for the video, but I promised I wasn't going to be doing product placement, but that'll get you through eating like this. A steak and some chicken slices, some chicken breast cut up. I do all of my meat cooking on a George Foreman grill. I'll get to bacon later. But that works pretty well. It's pretty easy to clean up, and doesn't have me burning a lot of meat in the house. The Foreman grill is good for about 6 months if you're using it twice a day, and that'll give up, and then you throw it away and get another one. They're like $20 at Walmart, and that's good. But you got to clean them from time to time too, and then you start wearing off the surface, and the meat all sticks to it. So that's the other part. Even if it's still heating up and you can't use your meat because it's all torn apart from sticking to the grill, it doesn't have Teflon in it anymore. All right, so eventually, after a while, I started looking into keto, and finally I decided, okay, here's what I gotta do. I'm gonna have mainly meat, but I'll have a bowl of vegetables, and I have several frozen vegetables that I like, and I can zap it in the microwave for 2 minutes and put olive oil on it, and it's not bad. I eat a bowl full of Brussels sprouts, a bowl full of peas and carrots, a bowl full of broccoli. Sometimes I mix broccoli and cauliflower together, but those are some decent veggies that you can throw in there that aren't going to hurt you. And then you can mix that up with, while you're eating the meat, and a bite of veggies and a bite of meat and a bite of veggies, and it'll catalyze that stuff so you can get it chewed. Another important thing, when you're going on any sort of a meat diet like this, you'll be surprised, the more meat that we can dig up here. But you want to make sure you have lots of dental floss. You're going to get meat caught between your teeth all the time, and you're going to have to be picking it out. Pretty soon your gums are going to get pretty sore from that. So what you really need, the thing that really helped me with this, is I got a water pick. So I could blast all the meat out caught between my teeth and with the water, and that is like, oh, I feel so much better, because you're always going to be getting meat caught between your teeth. Just natural thing that happens. So that's kind of what I would do for dinner. Started out with steak and chicken, and then graduated to meat and veggies. Always use olive oil on your vegetables. That's the reason that you eat vegetables, is because you can put olive oil on it, and that's where it's at. Now, those are talking about dinners that I have. Occasionally, I will do the thing I told you about, a slice or two of bread dipped in olive oil to mix with the meat, or what else do I do? Some ramen noodles. Mix up one of those little bags of ramen noodles and put some olive oil on it when it's done. Don't cook it in olive oil. Put the olive oil afterwards and stir it up. And what a few drops of olive oil does to ramen noodles is it turns it from tasting like wet cardboard to tasting like some really nice wet cardboard. It's amazing what a few drops of olive oil will do to stuff like that. It makes it edible. Now, those were dinners, and if you've seen the schedule video, that you want to have a good dinner, and because we don't have too much for lunches, we kind of work it out, because we only have an 8-hour window of eating compared to a 16-hour window of not eating. And that's how the 24 hours are divided up. 8 hours you can eat, 16 hours you can't. But breakfast, this is my standard breakfast. I varied it a little bit from time to time. I did this morning. But this is really important, because this is at the end of your 16 hours of not eating. This is where you load back up, and you want to have a lot of protein. You want to have a lot of nutrition in this. And so this is a really strong breakfast to get you going and get you back into the swing of things after you've just had a 16-hour fast and ended it with a workout. Here's what I eat. 3 eggs scrambled, 2 thin slices of ham, 2 strips of bacon, each one cut in 2, so it's 4 half strips, 2 slices of cheese. I like Swiss cheese, but provolone is okay, and there's a few other ones. I don't. The American cheese, it's kind of. I don't want to get a bunch of vegetable oil or nut oil or something that's pre-tanned cheese, and juice. Now we mostly stay away from fruits. I was trying to eat my breakfast with water. That doesn't work too well, and I quickly came to the conclusion that one of my favorite drinks is unsweetened grapefruit juice. Now, unsweetened grapefruit juice still has sugar in it. But what I do is about 3/4 of a glass of unsweetened grapefruit juice and then 1/4 of a glass of cold water, and mix the two together. And the cold water makes it less syrupy tasting and more refreshing tasting, and it spreads it out so you get more to drink with not quite as much sugar. So we're going to have a little bit of sugar bleed over, but the body can metabolize a little bit if it's just a small amount. And supposedly unsweetened grapefruit juice is pretty low on sugar. Orange juice, oh no, orange juice is full of sugar. So work with the grapefruit. And I don't know about the pink grapefruit. I don't care for that. I just get the regular yellow grapefruit stuff. So that is the big breakfast. I have gone 4 eggs and 3 slices of bacon. And that's pretty good too. And the breakfast sticks with you. You eat a good enough breakfast like that, and you can stretch it out until 5:30 when you're eating dinner and not have a problem with it. I mentioned what I did this morning at Donna's suggestion was I put my egg in the pan and let it firm up. And before I flipped it, I put on some sour cream and spooned in some salsa, and then flipped over the other half and had my egg that way. It's kind of a enchilado or something, I forget what the name of it, but it's sort of a Mexican egg. And that was very tasty. You don't want to do that all the time, but you get the sour cream and you got to use it for something. Put a little bit on your sweet potato, put a little bit on your eggs every once in a while, and mix it in with some salsa. It's not bad. And so that covers what you can do for breakfast. And then for lunch, and I modified this, there's a couple different things that I can do here. One thing I got from Dr. Berry is hot dogs. And hot dogs cover a wide range from being really bad to being actually not very objectionable at all, and it's decent. You're eating meat, and there actually is a lot of protein in it. That's if I get Hebrew National hot dogs, or I get Nathan's hot dogs, the beef ones, and those are very good hot dogs. And the best part is that you eat 1 or 2 hot dogs, not on a roll. You're not eating a hot dog bun. That's gone. Forget that. It's terrible anyway. It tastes like garbage. But you're eating it with some nice silver floss sauerkraut. And sauerkraut is right up there with the olive oil as far as foods that you really want to eat. We really want to get into the diet. Sauerkraut every day is really good and very helpful addition. It's kind of a carb, yeah, but put some sauerkraut in with some spicy brown mustard in your Nathan's or Hebrew National hot dogs, and you have a pretty darn good lunch with a lot of flavor to it. All right, another thing that I eat for lunch is I open up a can of white tuna, and then I can add in some bread dipped in olive oil. And the other thing, there's a new product which nobody has invented yet, but when you talk about eating a can of tuna without the bread or anything like that, and you put salt and pepper on it, that's great. I mean, I suppose you can mix it with olive oil, that would be interesting. But what we really need is we need somebody to invent mayonnaise, which is made with either bacon grease or olive oil. And that's, mayonnaise is egg and oil mixed together in the presence of onion. And if you can make mayonnaise with nasty vegetable and seed oils that we should never allow in our bodies, then why can't we make it with olive oil, or with even better, bacon oil? Oh, bacon grease. That's one of the things that you want to save from your bacon and store up and use for cooking also. as well as the olive oil. So somebody come out and invent some bacon oil or olive oil mayonnaise, and boy, you'll be right up there with the rich guys that make the sugar-free barbecue sauce. Let me keep going here. Another recently added addition, this was at my doctor's suggestion, was to have Raisin Bran with oat milk. Not oatmeal, oat milk. I know Raisin Bran is a lot of sugar from those raisins, and they bran flake. Bran doesn't taste very good, so they have to put a little sugar on there. But your doctor will like it because you're getting more fiber in your diet, raisins and raisin bran. So yeah, that's fiber, and they're always pushing that, and so that's good. That helps balance out some of the cholesterol stuff too. And something else that you really want to add to your arsenal of things that you can eat for snacks in between breakfast and dinner, because not after dinner, not before breakfast, but something that's really good to keep on hand to get you through the day is some beef jerky. Yes, you watch Dr. Ken Berry, he's going to be talking about beef jerky all the time. And after you eat it a little bit, you really get used to the taste of it. It's just great, because there's not much stuff that you can eat, because we've done away with fast food, and we've done away with garbage food, and we've done away with crap that you don't need to eat. So we put in some protein, beef jerky. Tastes good, it's salted, salt's good for you, doesn't hurt you. And then also sugar. We are giving up sugar. We're getting away from it. If you want to feel bad, you can go and eat some sugar. I had some sugar. I had a blueberry muffin because we went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning for her to get coffee, and I don't drink coffee. And then I saw that they had blueberry muffins. All right, give me the blueberry muffin. It didn't really taste that good. It wasn't that big of a thrill, and I didn't really feel too good afterwards because I loaded up on more sugar than my pancreas is used to dealing with. But every once in a while, you go out and you have it, and it makes you feel bad. And then you're like, okay, good. I got that over with, and I'm not going to do that again for a long time till I forget how bad it feels. But when you're giving up sugar, first of all, because everybody's addicted to it from how terrible our diet is, but when you first give up sugar, you just got to have something sweet. Well, go to the grocery store when you're standing in line, buy one of these containers of sugarless gum. I did that. As soon as I would start getting a sweet tooth, I would have a sugarless gum and I would chew it up and have another piece. And I tried limiting myself to like 3 or 4 pieces of sugarless gum a day. But what happened was, boy, it really tastes good when you eat that sugarless gum. But what happened is I have a couple of caps on some of my molars, and all of a sudden I was chewing the gum so much, I pulled the cap loose. But fortunately it wasn't damaged, so I went to my new dentist and they cleaned it out, glued it back on, and it stayed. And as long as I don't chew the gum, it will continue to stay. But I had to give up chewing the gum, so then I went to the sugar-free mints, and you can suck on those for a couple of minutes, and then they go away. But you know, it's something to fall back on. And then the other thing that I started doing is after a meal, I would keep a container of Dannon vanilla yogurt. Now, vanilla yogurt, there's good things. It is a probiotic. It's good for your digestion, so that's good for the pipes. You want to have some yogurt for that. And I tried eating plain yogurt, and I did finish a container or two, and then I started like putting lemon juice in it and stuff like that to try to doctor it up, because plain yogurt is kind of like eating paste. But the vanilla yogurt has some sugar in it, so I would just, right after I ate, I would take like 2 or 3 spoons of vanilla yogurt just to kind of get that taste in my mouth. and just kind of leave it there for a while until I brush my teeth. So that was a way that I could do some more stuff that's mostly positive, slightly negative. So you can put that into your arsenal of things to have as well. And water pick, yes. Sugarless gum, yes. I think I covered everything. George Foreman grill. So that gives you the stuff to work with for food. Now, if you're dealing with a whole family, like you're dealing with kids, carbohydrates really are pretty important to growing bodies. But for those of us who are older, we don't want our bodies to grow. I mean, you can get a little bit of carbs in there if you really start working out and you're building muscle. You want to have a little bit of carbohydrate for that possibly. But we eat a high carb diet, which is why everybody's carrying around all that weight. And if you are a senior, there's probably not that many people you're cooking for, so you can adjust your meal more for that. And if you're cooking for other people, then there's also, you got to work on not snacking on their food when you're outside of your 8-hour window to keep the intermittent fast going, all right? So if you have questions, leave them for me in the comments down below and tell me what your experiences are. I'm really excited to hear what people say about all this. And in the meantime, this is the Fit Senior, and I am out of here and get back to being in shape.